If you meet a girl who has tattoos, know that she is crazy. No exceptions. Yeah, I used to think that maybe a girl with tattoos wasn't completely insane. The girls that have like tattoos all over their chest, for instance, you know that they're crazy. Ditto with those girls who put tattoos on their thighs, right? And forget about, putting a tattoo on your face, okay? You put a tattoo on your face, you're just screaming out to the world that you are fucking out of your mind, that you have zero impulse control, zero taste, and that you're just basically a fool, like how do I put this? In Spanish, we have a saying that's perfect for this. It doesn't translate very well into English, but I'll say it anyway. In Spanish, it's más peligroso que mono con navaja. More dangerous than a monkey with a razor blade. Yeah, a girl who tattoos her face, that's how crazy that chick is gonna be, yeah? No exception. But what about the girl who has like the little tattoo? The little tattoo very discreetly, like on her hip maybe, or maybe on her ankle, just the one little thing. The one little, I don't know, little Chinese symbol or something like that. Is she crazy too? Yes, absolutely. No exceptions. No matter how small the tattoo, no matter how discreet, no matter how whatever, she's nuts. By definition, I used to think that this wasn't the case. I used to think that a girl with a little tattoo, a little discreet little symbol or whatever the hell, was okay, like a heart or something. Or there was this one girl I knew, she had a little dolphin, right? And she had a little dolphin on her chest, and she told me how much she regretted it. She'd gotten it, and then within a week she told me that she regretted it and wanted to get it removed and all the rest of it and blah blah blah. And so I thought, well, maybe this girl is all right? She wasn't. She was fucking out of her mind. Oh yeah. Every girl who has a tattoo is crazy. Now, it's all good and fine to say that a girl with a tattoo is crazy, but the issue becomes, why is she crazy? Oh, very, very simple. You see, the tattoo in and of itself is not the issue. Okay, a tattoo, you can have a passing fancy of having a tattoo and what have you, but no, the issue is that, see, a girl who wants a tattoo, or let me phrase it, a girl who gets a tattoo is a girl who has no impulse control. She cannot control her impulses, and more to the point, she does not have any kind of long-term planning or long-term thinking. Okay? She's not going to be thinking of the next year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. She's not going to be thinking of how idiotic any tattoo is going to look on her when she's, 30, 40, 50. Okay? She's not going to be thinking in those terms. A girl who gets a tattoo, she's thinking of the next 5 minutes. Maybe she's thinking about next month. Maybe. Okay? But for the most part, any girl who gets a tattoo is thinking of the immediate pleasure, okay? And that's the point of it. That's the reason for it. She has no impulse control. And so what does that tell you? A girl with no impulse control, what kind of girl is she? She's a crazy girl. Yeah, that's the definition of a crazy girl. A girl with no impulse control. She cannot control her passing fancies, her passing whims, her just impulses of the moment. She cannot control them, okay? And what I always say? I say that the difference between men and every other creature on this earth is that we can control our feelings, our emotions, our passing whims. We can control them and sublimate them to our thoughts, to our logic, to our reason, to our long-term goals and long-term benefits. And so, of course, we might feel some passing fancy, but we're not going to act on it if it goes against our long-term best interests. And you see, a tattoo, by definition, it's going to feel like really cool at that moment. At the moment that she gets it and the few maybe days or maybe even weeks after. But long term, it's going to look foolish and ridiculous. I mean, have you ever seen an older woman with that tattoo? How does she look? She looks ridiculous, of course. Yeah, I mean, like some 40, 50-year-old hag, right, with a tattoo. What the fuck she look like, right? She looks like she lived on the waterfront of some port, right, where she was banging all the sailors night and day, probably a hooker, and that's what she looks like. It doesn't matter if she's not. That's what she comes across as. That's what she looks like when she's like 40 or 50 with a tattoo. She looks idiotic, right? And see, if you're young, if you're 20 years old, 25 years old, you recognize that, you know, the way you look now is not the way you're going to look for the rest of your life. You're going to be changing, right? So a girl who gets a tattoo when she's 20, when she's hot, she's not thinking to herself that the good times are going to end. She's not thinking to herself that she will become a woman of 40, a woman of 50, a woman of 60. And the tattoo of some random Chinese character on her hip or her ass or her thigh or wherever the fuck she decides to put it on, it's going to look horrible and stupid in, you know, when she's 40. I mean, screw it. It's not even going to look foolish when she's 40. It's going to look foolish next year. It looks foolish now, for crying out loud. Yeah, you always hear lefties talk about cultural appropriation. How come they don't bitch and moan and complain about the fact that, you know, all these Western girls are getting like Chinese characters? What the fuck is that all about, huh? It's absurd, but they get like Chinese characters, and a lot of times the Chinese characters that they get aren't like what they think it is. A lot of times, you know, they get all kinds of random characters that mean absolutely nothing, that they were trying to, like, you know, scar themselves with, because that's what it is, yeah? Anyway, see, back in the 90s, there was this whole fashion of girls getting tattoos on the lower back, right? And quickly, it became known as the tramp stamp. Yeah, because the thing is, see, girls who would get tattoos on their lower back, yeah, they were easy lays. Yeah, they were girls who'd fuck on the first date, right? And so you started looking for them. And the thing is, see, they started like showing them off, right? I remember there was this period of time where all of a sudden all these girls are going around, walking around with these lowrider jeans, showing off their tramp stamp. And it's basically an advertising saying, I'm down to fuck. What the fuck does that tell you, huh? Yeah, she's nuts. She has no impulse control. She fancies you, she's gonna fuck you, yeah? She has this passing whim of having a tattoo, she's gonna get the tattoo, okay? And what does that mean to you as a guy? Fucking obvious, right? She is not going to be fucking loyal to you. That's what it fucking means. Yeah, a girl who's got like tattoos, you know, she's with you and she meets somebody that she just fancies, she's going to fuck them. Yeah. And so, of course, a girl like that, you cannot build any kind of serious relationship with her, okay? And that's all good and fine when you're young. When you're young, you don't really give a shit about having a long-term relationship, right? When you're young, you're thinking of just having a good time. And when I say young, what I'm saying, like, you know, late teens, early 20s, maybe up until the point you're like 27, 30, right? But as you get older, fuck no, you want to have like some casual relationship and you want to start building shit, right? When you're young in your 20s, the idea of having anything long-lasting and solid, it's not very common. There are some guys who are like that, and that's perfectly respectable. But for the most part, you're a young guy, you want to have casual relationships. A tattooed girl is perfect for that. Oh yeah. She's a lot of fun for the weekend. Yeah, maybe even a couple of weeks. Yeah, but after that, Catch and release. That's your watchword. Catch and release. That is what you do with a tattooed girl. The problem with tattooed girls is that they're usually hot, okay? And sure, you get some porker, some land whale who gets tattooed up the ass, right? And of course, she's still gonna be a fucking porker, right? But the fact of the matter is that for the most part, right, the really, really hot girls, right, a lot of them get tattoos, right? They get tattoos, well, because nobody's there to control them, because they're attractive, they're sexually attractive, right? And so nobody's put any limits on them, any kind of conditioning and saying, you know, this is okay and this is wrong. No, because they're cute, you know, they grew up cute and they became sexually attractive, and so they'd bat their eyes at whatever authority figure was around and they'd get their way, okay? And so since they always got their way, there were no limits. Of course, you know, they started living to feed their impulses, whatever passing impulse they might happen to have. See, that's why, you know, it's not the, you know, like the 6s and the 7s and maybe the 8s who get tattooed. No, it's a lot of times it's the 9s and the 10s they get tattooed, because nobody put any limits on them, because they were attractive. And so because they were attractive, they always got their way, and so they started just feeding this demon that is their impulse. And this translates into getting tattoos, and it translates into fucking anything that moves. And it translates into a girl that you cannot pair bond with ever. And this is a bitter lesson that I learned, because there was a girl I dated fairly seriously for over a year that, yeah, she had a tattoo. A little tattoo, and she said she regretted it, this and that, and all the rest of it. Not the girl with the dolphin tattoo, another girl. And she kept saying that she regretted it and that she shouldn't have gotten it and all the rest of it, and it didn't mean anything, but no, it did. It did. It did. She didn't cheat on me, thank God. Well, she didn't cheat on me, and that's why we lasted as long as we did, right? But the fact of the matter is that she had serious impulse control problems. Oh yeah. She had very, very serious, I mean, she was gorgeous, of course, but she had serious impulse control problems that at the end made it just, I mean, it was a goddamn shame because she was great. She had so many qualities, right? But that lack of impulse control, that always kills a relationship. Because you see, when you have a long-term relationship, okay, a long-term relationship potentially with kids, or let me phrase that, the only reason to have a long-term relationship is if you have kids. If you don't, then it's pointless. And actually, I've been rethinking the whole issue of marriage, and I'm going to do a video about that, but be that as it may, I mean, like, hold your horses on that. The issue of impulse control is so essential insofar as any kind of long-term relationship, because it is inevitable that both parties in a long-term relationship will come across people who are sexually attractive, more sexually attractive than the person that they are with. It is inevitable. It shouldn't need defending, okay? You go through the world, you meet enough people, and yeah, sure, you're with somebody really hot that you love and you find attractive and all the rest of it. You're gonna find somebody hotter. It's inevitable, okay? That's why I always tell you guys that, if you're ever like crying over some girl that you broke up with, don't cry. Just go out looking for another one, because there's another one just around the corner. Yeah, that's true. That's true if you're single, and it's true if you're in a relationship. And so if you're in a relationship, you will meet somebody hotter than the person that you're with. If you're with a girl in a long-term relationship where you have kids, where you have a house, and you have like all kinds of shit that you've accrued together, I mean, like, you've built a family, right? You have all this shit, and the girl has no impulse control, she's gonna hop into bed with that guy. Oh yeah, potentially she will leave the fucking family that you two have built because of this passing fancy. You see? You see why impulse control in a woman is so important? And you see, in the past, there were a whole bunch of people who were pressuring the girl to stay on the straight and narrow. Oh yeah. I mean, I always talk about the deregulated sexual marketplace, and back in the day when it was regulated, when there were other people outside of the man and the woman who were putting pressure on them, right? See, a girl, she couldn't just fuck around at random, because there'd be her parents, her siblings, her cousins, her friends, who'd all say, what the fuck are you doing? If she went and decided to fuck some other guy, right? And so there was a lot of societal pressure to keep the woman in line. The guy too, by the way, okay? I mean, it wasn't that a guy could casually go around, sleeping with somebody else. Everybody would just disapprove of him and think he was an asshole, right? So there was a lot of pressure on both parties to stay together in a long-term relationship, because it was understood that inevitably there would be sexual opportunities that crop up along the way, on the road of this relationship, on the road of life, if you will, to coin a cliche. But you see, it was inevitable, and so that's why there was this pressure, and that's why people stayed together, okay? Because there were outside forces in their immediate social environment pressuring to stay together. But today, that's not the case. So you don't want to be a girl who has no impulse control. You don't want to be with a girl who is going to fuck around on you the second she comes across somebody better. Because she will, because it's inevitable, okay? You don't want such a girl. You want a girl who has impulse control, and therefore you want a girl who doesn't have tattoos. And here is the best part. You see, nowadays, this whole tattoo thing, it's a huge fucking fashion. Just about every girl is actually pressured into getting a tattoo because it's what all of her friends are doing, right? You come across a girl who doesn't have a tattoo. I mean, a girl who's like, I don't know, 22, 25, whatever the fuck, right? She doesn't have a tattoo, not a single tattoo. She's no dummy. Yeah, she's the one you want to grab for some long-term relationship. You see what I'm saying? Because she didn't fall for the pressure of her peers. She wasn't stupid. She had impulse control. And therefore, she's going to be a better mate. She's going to be a better mate because she's not going to step out on you the second she comes across somebody better. As she will, because it's inevitable. Okay? And that's why tattooed girls, I think you get the picture. The tattooed girls, I mean, back in the 90s, when I was in my 20s, I thought they were hot. No question, I'm not gonna lie. I thought that they were really hot. I thought the tramp stamps were hot, you know, but I didn't like the big flowery ones. I liked them like more discreet, like a little thing, you know. I thought that they were really hot, but the older I get, the dumber I think that they are. And the older I get, the more I think of women I've seen who are older, who have tattoos, and they look ridiculous, right? And the older I get, the more I recognize it as a symptom of a sickness in the girl, because it is a sickness, okay? You can have most of the population have a particular sickness, and it's not normal. It is a disease, and the disease is lack of impulse control, okay? Yeah. I wanted to tie up this video somehow with a neat bow, but you know, this is the first video I've done in a while, okay, because I've actually been traveling and doing this and that, and so I'm just gonna have to cut it like here.